Welcome back. We are now entering day 3 of the government shutdown. The Senate set to vote again today, beginning at 11:30 a.m. Eastern, on the clean CR from the Republicans and the Democrats' counter proposal. The president met with his Office of Budget Management chief, Russ Vought, yesterday in Washington. They discussed which, quote, Democrat agencies can be cut out of government altogether, either temporarily or permanently. The vote this morning, Mr. Vought says that he is freezing $2.1 billion from Chicago's infrastructure projects over DEI contracting. The budget chief tweeted that out this morning. Joining me now is Arizona Congressman David Schweikert. He chairs the Joint Economic Committee. Mr. Chairman, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. And I want to get your take about the waste, fraud, and abuse in government and the low-hanging fruit that President Trump can actually take advantage of right now during this government shutdown that was forced by the Democrats.
Look, it's an opportunity. If you actually look at the things DOJ exposed, our research in Congress has exposed, but yet the process, because you need those 60 votes in the Senate, makes it almost impossible to move through what you and I would consider just being smart. Maybe the president, Russ Vought, can actually execute some of those with this shutdown lunacy from the Democrats.
Yeah, but what do you think about the length of this? Because there's a lot of projects that were ongoing that now are coming to a halt because of this shutdown. How long do you expect this to last?
It's already lasted longer than I thought it would, because, even some Democrats actually have scruples of saying this is absurd. But what I'm finding out there is the Democrat base has become so extreme that they're willing to burn down even many of their own constituents, their own neighbors, to try to create pain, particularly pain for those on the Republican side.
Well, look, there are analysts out there this morning telling clients what to expect, and they're comparing it to the longest shutdown back in December of 2018 and 2019 and January, and that was only a partial shutdown, and it was 35 days. Most people do not expect this to end quickly, that it's going to be not days, but weeks. What do you think?
And my fears, that's what it's more looking like.
Yeah.
And think about how unreasonable the Senate Democrats have become. It's asking for functionally $1.5 trillion of additional spending over the next 10 years, wiping out many of the reforms that we've worked so hard to get woven into, going after that waste and fraud in so many programs, in healthcare and so many other things, where it's money that's functionally being stolen from the American people. And the Democrats want to actually put that back in, finance healthcare for illegals, remove the reforms. If you take a moment, this has just become sort of lunacy.
Yeah. So you'll need at least 5 Senate Democrats to vote for this Republican bill. The key Senate Democrats to watch are Jeanne Shaheen, New Hampshire, Mark Warner, Virginia, Tim Kaine, Virginia, John Ossoff, Georgia, and Gary Peters, Michigan. Do you think that you'll get those votes today? And the Senate Democrats are also pushing this 10-day stopgap that creates time for a deal on the expiring Affordable Care Act, Obamacare subsidies. Is there any way that the Republicans will go for a temporary putback of some of those subsidies?
In many ways, it just keeps you in the treadmill. And understand, those subsidies to the insurance companies that are a subsidy on top of subsidies that were already supposed to expire, it was the Democrats that actually lined them up to expire. To start doing, hey, we're going to extend this for 10 days and those things, these things don't even expire until January. So you can start to see the theater of the absurd being proposed now by the Democrats in the Senate.
Well, to be fair, Senator Mike Rounds from South Carolina, who's a Republican, he is coming up with this one idea that he says he could see the subsidies extended for 1 year, which would then be followed by a 1-year phase down to return to the tax credits to pre-COVID levels. Is that something you would support?
No, I would not support that.
Okay. All right.
The fact of the matter is these expanded subsidies, if you actually look at them, there's something horribly wrong. We are joint economic economists. We were modeling these yesterday, and we are seeing just a bit under half, 40% plus, have never even made a healthcare claim. That sets off alarm bells that many of these may be fraudulently signed up.
Oh.
You also have parts of the country where you can make up to $600,000 and be getting a subsidy to the insurance company
Wow.
for your insurance. Yeah, people don't understand. These are subsidies on top of subsidies.
Yeah.
We need a revolution in how we talk about healthcare. The problem here is we've turned healthcare into financing through insurance companies instead of what it costs to get services. If we do this, we've continued on the treadmill of making healthcare about handing out cash as subsidies instead of what we do to refine the cost of getting services.
Well, this is a very good point that you're making, Mr. Chairman. And, you know, we're talking about the Obamacare Affordable Care Act subsidies, which is going to 22 million Americans. They were receiving COVID-era subsidies to help offset their insurance, and it was about $30 billion a year. But when you're all coming out consistently saying we want to get back to pre-COVID spending. I mean, the House Joint Economic Committee released its national debt update this week, revealing that the national debt increased by $2.2 trillion in fiscal year 2025. That debt stands at $37.6 trillion. So you say our current level of deficit spending is unsustainable. And even your colleagues on the left say, yeah, at some point we have to get back to pre-COVID spending. And yet they still want these COVID spending subsidies to be back on the table.
Look, Maria, it's absolutely out of control. We borrow about $70,000 a second.
Wow.
And look, many of the things the president is doing have been very helpful, but people don't understand the scale. When you're borrowing $6.5 billion every single day, even all the tariffs, the customs duties have been very helpful, but it only covers 18 days of borrowing.
Yeah.
You get some sense of, you know, we're hemorrhaging, and much of this it's healthcare and interest we're having to pay on the debt. If we don't start taking it seriously, I really worry about our economic future.
Of course. I mean, look, Jamieson Greer this week told me, the U.S. Trade Representative, that we're already at $150 billion in revenue from the tariffs. And, you know, Scott Bessent said expect $300 billion a year. You tally that up for 10 years. That's real money to actually go toward the debt. And the president has this wave of 232 tariffs, which are going to be implemented on October 1st and go live on October 14th. 10% on foreign softwood, lumber, and timber, 25% on kitchen cabinets, vanities, upholstered wooden furniture, 25% on heavy trucks, 100% foreign film tariff threat. He's threatening that he could use 301, Section 301 for that. We'll see about the 100% on films. I know he put the 100% on pharmaceuticals aside for now while he negotiates with pharma companies. But the president's considering providing at least $10 billion in aid to American farmers, as the agricultural secretary is warning of economic fallout over tariffs, Mr. Chairman. So what do you want to say about that in terms of this? I don't know. Some people are calling it a bailout for farmers.
Well, and remember, we had to do a version of this a few years ago in Trump, the first term. And that was partially because of the reciprocal tariffs that we were getting from our trading competitors, let's call it that way. The scale, though, even with the tariff receipts, even with some of the DOGE cuts that we will be able to implement, we still expect to borrow $2.2 trillion.
Wow.
In this fiscal year. It's just, and much of it, it's not the Republicans. It's in some ways, it's not even Democrats. It's demographics. We have a shortage of young people. We're getting older as a society. We got to keep our promises. And the unwillingness of Democrats to actually step up and tell the truth and work with us to modernize, to revolutionize how we deliver government services.
Yeah.
We're just spending too much money.
Well, I mean, look, there was all that $7 trillion in spending done under the Biden administration. We can't forget that. But I love this
and
whole
now we
business
pay interest
sense.
on it.
Yeah, exactly. And the interest is more than we pay on defense spending. So I understand the issue. Congressman, it's good to see you this morning. Thank you, sir. I was going to say, I love this business approach that you, and we're watching your campaign in Arizona, running for governor of Arizona, David Schweikert. We'll be right back.